Hello and welcome to In the Spotlight with Quocirca, the definitive podcast on digital disruption in the print industry. I'm Louella Fernandes, CEO of Quocirca, and today I'm joined by Marc Theaman, also known as Thermal Theaman, from Toshiba America Business Solutions. We're diving deep into an area of printing that many MPS dealers and resellers may be completely overlooking. They could be leaving money on the table and missing a chance to capture new recurring revenue opportunities. So is the label printing market the untapped revenue goldmine for MPS dealers today? We'll find out. So welcome to the show, Marc. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you, Louella. I'm happy to be here.
So before we get into the conversation, could you tell us a bit about your career history and your role at Toshiba?
There's a term here I like to use. I'm like a journeyman pitcher of the copier industry. So I've been on a lot of different teams. And I've been with Xerox, I've been with Ricoh, I've been with Quocirca, I've been with Samsung. And in each of the companies, it's very similar, right? Very similar. Maybe got a little different with Xerox and production. But I've been doing this a long time. Nothing has got me more excited than thermal printing. Because I'm actually coming to dealers, teaching them how to make money, make a lot of money with a very little investment. This is like I'm the good news channel. This is all good news. No one's ever said, oh, no, I'm not doing that. Dealers say, I've been meaning to look into this. How do I get started? Let's get back together at the beginning of the year. Things like that. When I go to the BTA shows, the last two BTA shows last year, we were the busiest booth by a mile. We were the busiest booth because we were talking about label printing. Everybody else is passing out brochures and giveaways. We're talking about how to make money.
So as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing the label printing opportunity. Great to understand a bit more about how Toshiba first got into that market and first introduced label and receipt printers.
Dealers may not know, Toshiba's been in the label and receipt printer business for 45 years. This is not something new to Toshiba. We've been doing it worldwide for that long. And this market is massive. So what I'd like to share with dealers today is that this is a massive market with minimal upfront investment, unlike, say, production, which requires a big investment. Label printing is in every dealer's comfort zone, and most of their accounts are currently printing labels today. This is high margin. This is recurring revenue. And the best part is it's what they do today. This is print. This is not an adjacent business, like, say, the water business or managed IT services. This is print, and this is why it appeals to dealers. I'd also like to discuss a couple of other things, like how this seamlessly can fit into a dealer's MPS program. And finally, if dealers want to get started, I'm going to show you the easy way to do it.
Okay, well, sounds like a great opportunity. And I think, as you mentioned there, it's really interesting that it's not an adjacency. It's actually core to their traditional business in terms of their core expertise around printing. So in terms of resellers that want to move into label printing, what would you say are the key challenges they may come up against, and even for Toshiba, as to why resellers may not be as receptive? And then maybe you can tell us a bit about the success that resellers who are moving into that space are having.
Oh, sure. So I have to tell you, every dealer I've talked to has said, I'm interested in this, or has said, I've been meaning to look into this. And when we start getting into the conversation, their eyes light up because, as I said before, this is the lowest hanging fruit a dealer could ever have. These label printers are in their existing accounts today, and simply by running an unmanaged assets report from their data collection software, whatever software they use, it could be unmanaged assets or unsupported devices. If they simply filter it by zebra, they will see all of the label printers that are in their customers today on their networks. Now, let me take that a step further. We did this at Toshiba. We looked at all of our existing customer accounts and we ran the report and we filtered it the way I just said. We did a sample of 1,800 accounts and we found over 30,000 label printers. 30,000. So this is a huge opportunity. You may find there are way more label printers in a company than there are laser printers, than there are MFPs. And the recurring revenue from this is high because it's not just toner we're talking about. It's labels, print heads, and ribbons as the aftermarket.
Yeah, and I think before we go into more detail around Toshiba's MPS program around label printing, maybe we should take a step back and talk a bit about the market opportunity in terms of label printing, sometimes known as barcode printing, thermal printing, because, clearly with the traditional office print market, it's flat to declining. So volumes are on a downwards trajectory, but I know it's very different in the label printing market. So it'd be great if you could share some data or insights into where the market is going, and particularly the sectors that are really key customer opportunities.
Perfect. So I'd like to get everybody's attention right now. This is a shipping label. Well, you can see this shipping label. You know how many shipping labels are printed every single day? 65 million a day. Think of all the Amazon boxes that are on your front door. Every one of them has two labels on it. One's a shipping label and one's a different kind of label. But there are, just from a shipping label standpoint, there are 65 million printed every single day. By the way, what's going to happen between now and Christmas? That's going to go to 85 million a day because now's the time people do a lot of buying and shipping. And that's just one area. How about hospitals or healthcare? One of the big applications, there's a couple there, but hopefully you can see this. There's a little tube where they take your blood. And these, as well as visitor labels, hospitals print almost 100 million labels a day. Now think about that for a second. What happens if you can't print a shipping label? You can't ship. What happens if you can't print a specimen label? You can't use the blood. And what happens if you can't print a visitor badge? You can't let anybody in. So literally, if labels stop, business stops. So I consider this mission critical printing. And every dealer who is involved in print with their customers, what do their customers rely on you for? Keeping the print environment up and running 24/7. Why not add label printers? These are more mission critical than anything, if you think about it. How can even plant stakes, right? We got plant stakes. You guys have all seen all these kinds of labels. How about a wristband? You can't get into the hospital without the wristband. Somebody's printing these, but not dealers. We have the expertise. We are the experts in print, not Zebra and VARs, us, dealers. So when we look at this market, this massive market, we have all of these different ways to use label printing to help us go wider and deeper in all of our existing accounts, but also as a way to get into new accounts. Think about this. Let's say you're offering an MPS program. You walk into a customer and they say, "I'm sorry, I'm in the second year of a 5-year agreement with my current vendor." What should you do? You can come back in 3 years, or you could ask the customer, "What do you do for labels?" Labels are not, or label printers are not on MPS agreements. In fact, the printers aren't even on contracts. So this is an easy opportunity. They trust you already. They love your service. They love your responsiveness. They love your transparency in reporting. So why not add thermal printing? And when I say thermal printing, I also mean label printing or barcode printing. You can kind of use these interchangeably. But this opportunity is enormous, and every dealer can see it for themselves simply by running that unmanaged asset report that I mentioned before.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting you say, discuss the opportunity, because it sounds very similar to how MPS was maybe 10, 20 years ago when the market was just starting and there was a need to manage these unmanaged devices. Nobody knew or could discover all these devices. And would you say it's very similar in terms of moving these label printers to an MPS contract is similar to where we were with MPS for traditional office print 20 years ago?
Well, that's spot on. I say this all the time. This is just like, in fact, it's exactly the same as MPS was 20 years ago when we were walking by all those label printers or all those laser printers. Why are we walking by all of the thermal printers, the label printers, the receipt printers? When we do assessments, when your people go out and do any kind of print assessment, don't walk by these printers. Walk into the warehouse. Maybe that's where the big opportunity is. Walk in the warehouse if it's a manufacturing company and see what they have. You'll find it's gonna be way more than you think, and it's also they're looking for help. Customers are looking for help. They have problems with their current providers' service and support. They come to us. Recently I was at a trade show, and this was an end user trade show. And the end user said, "Hey, we're looking for alternatives. Our current provider is not cutting it when it comes to service and support." What is the dealer comfort zone? Service and support. Now, if their customers are looking for an alternative, we know Zebra is like the HP of the barcode world. Zebra has the majority market share. So when we look at that business, we look at it as upside for us all, because our focus is simply print. You can't have, if you believe what I said, that this is mission critical, a shipping label, you must have these products on service agreements. You must have them on MPS agreements. Customers can't have a strategy of, I'll just replace them when they die. Really? The customer that does that is going to be down for X amount of time without a machine that can print a label, a visitor badge, a wristband. This is mission critical printing, and it's right in the dealer's sweet spot.
So really it could help those dealers offset declining print volumes if they can develop an offering for the label printers under one contract. And it sounds very similar again, as we said, before with office printing, it's very much sold transactionally, and it sounds very similar with label printers. Could you talk a bit about how they would be included in a service contract? Because obviously the consumables are quite different. Can they be connected to the cloud? And maybe a bit about how Toshiba is helping develop a program to support that.
Sure. So at Toshiba, we have developed several different programs for dealers to get into the thermal business. Let me first tell you, the margins are high. Okay, there's about a 30 to 40% margin on hardware. There's a 65% margin on service. And we use the word consumables instead of supplies, because in consumables, we have print heads, ribbons, and labels. And the recurring revenue from print heads, ribbons, and labels is what we're after capturing. So we have several ways of going about doing that. One is a dealer can simply charge a monthly fee to provide break-fix service to a label printer, and they can sell them as needed, the consumables. But one of the really cool programs that we have for dealers is what we call our Label Smart program. And our Label Smart program is a cost per label, all-inclusive program that a dealer can very easily, that's when I talk about seamlessly adding it to their MPS contracts, they can take our Label Smart program, come up with a cost per label, and then just simply add it to their existing MPS agreements. It is easy peasy.
And, I think, again, it feels like there's a bit of a perfect storm in terms of the opportunity, because just to pick up on some of the advantages that you mentioned is, firstly, it's mission critical. So businesses really rely on these devices to support their business processes. And also they're transactionally sold, so there's an opportunity to move to contractual approach. But also, could you tell us a bit about Sunrise 2027? Because I think that although it's an optional approach for companies to include 2D and QR codes, I think, it's another factor that can support this growing business.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's a great one. So I'm going to hold this one up again. And here's the barcode. And here's the QR code. And a QR code is also called 2D printing. Well, in Sunrise 2027 is going to be an industry standard now that all labels need to have a QR code on them. All labels need to have a QR code on them. Now, if people don't know about the QR codes, when you scan them, provide the consumer with a lot more information about the product than can fit on a traditional label. It can take them to a landing page. It can take them to a lot of different places to receive information about the product, where it's from, what's included, what are the benefits, what are the applications. So it makes a lot of sense that the industry is moving this way. And Toshiba, with our new BX series product line, has with this QR code can be printed via PDF in our new line of products. I mention this because I don't want this to be a product conversation per se, but this particular feature, this particular GS1 or this 2D barcode, this gives every dealer a huge leg up to get ahead of the curve with their customers. Your customers may not know that they need to have 2D barcodes or 2D or QR codes on all their labels going forward. Now listen to this. 80% of the barcode labels that are printed today are hard-coded. What does that mean? Hard-coded means somebody in IT had to program the data that's going to appear on the label. Well, if they have to now add a QR code, that means that they're going to have more programming done for all of their labels. And big companies have purchased already millions and millions of labels that they're going to use in the future. Well, I bring up our BX series because it has native PDF printing included inside of it, along with a print data converter. And what all that means is without changing anything, and with very little programming experience, you can add a QR code to your existing hard-coded labels. It is a huge benefit. So I'm here trying to convince dealers that this is a market you should get into. But on top of that, Toshiba has product set now with our ABRID platform that takes advantage of Sunrise 2027 and puts you in the driver's seat, going into your customers and leading them down this path, not waiting for the reaction, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because 2027 is going to come up pretty quick.
Yeah, so I guess it's getting them future ready for that Sunrise 2027, and Toshiba can help, I guess, train the resellers to understand the market opportunity as well. So have you got any examples, without naming names, but examples of dealers or resellers that have made this move already and what they're seeing in terms of, like you mentioned, some of the margins are really a lot higher than MPS. So any anecdotal comments from dealers who've made this leap already to label printing?
Well, I'm very encouraged by how dealers have responded to our label printing messaging. I've been doing it for about a year now, trying to evangelize this. And what we're seeing is both our existing Toshiba dealers and non-Toshiba dealers are coming to us to get involved in this business. Anecdotally, I can tell you about a couple of examples where, without an elaborate script, we just talk about label printing, and we have a 700 unit opportunity we're working on now with a large dealer. We have a 600 unit opportunity we're working on with another dealer, and it's always the same thing. The current provider provides poor service and support. By the way, most of the machines that we talk about, when you look in your own data and you see all of the devices from the big brand that I mentioned before, most of what you're going to see are 10-year-old or more devices. 10-year-old or more. So when you see that, you look at that as a huge opportunity. There's a security risk there, and there's that mission critical thing there again. These are not necessarily cloud-based devices. How are you going to protect from security? How are you going to protect just any kind of upgrading? So when we look at Toshiba in this market now, we're coming to the dealers, not just saying we're in the label printing business. We're saying we've got a program. We've leapfrogged the competition with our technology. And the market is so massive and growing that this can replace your declining print volumes.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it, really? Because it feels like it's a market that's been overlooked for some time. And as we mentioned, the regulations are changing, and the security aspect you mentioned there is, very significant, isn't it? Because if these devices are 10 years old or older, then there's a potential vulnerability. And I guess you can help your dealers to run assessments to identify those devices. And I guess they're not all connected. But are you seeing that assessments are really the foundation to help those dealers then identify opportunities for replacing existing devices with Toshiba products?
I am. So we start with dealers with their existing accounts. Not only is it the low-hanging fruit, it's the easiest way to start. Have the relationship, have the contract. Think about coming in for a quarterly business review with something new to talk about. Yeah. How about this? This is kind of, we've heard from dealers that their customers have gone, oh my gosh, you guys do this? We need you to do this. We want you to do this. And Toshiba makes it easy for dealers to get started. So if I can, I would like to mention how we do that. We have, first of all, a thermal-only authorization. So any dealer who's watching this and starting to think, yeah, this is a great opportunity, you don't have to worry about this impacting any of your existing OEM relationships. Our thermal-only authorization is not threatening. All of our OEM competitors on the MFP side, they don't make and sell their own label printers. We do. So you can become a thermal-only Toshiba dealer. But that's not really the goal. So what? How do you get started? Well, first you got to do that if you're not a Toshiba dealer. But we've come up with what we call the thermal launch package. Many dealers are familiar with like demo room programs. That's not what this is, because we know what it takes for a dealer to get started the right way in this business. So our thermal launch package, it does include some equipment, and it does include equipment for your showroom, and it includes equipment to go out and demo. It includes all kinds of marketing collaterals. But here's the best part. It includes on-site service training. Now, many dealers tell me they haven't seen on-site service training for anything in a very long time. We will come out and we will do on-site service training for your entire team, part of your team, however you want to do it, as included in this thermal launch package. We also do on-site sales training. Included in the package is consumables training. One other great thing in the package is we've got Kate Kingston. And Kate has developed a thermal or label printer talk track for every rep to use when they go approach either their existing accounts or their new accounts, and that's included in the thermal launch package. And finally, it includes 2 lead lists, and the 2 lead lists are in manufacturing and healthcare. Why? Because those are the 2 biggest consumers of labels. And all of that can be yours for, when I said a minimal investment, it's a $10,000 investment in the thermal launch package. By the way, everything I just said, if you were thinking about it, it works out to almost $20,000 value with all the equipment, collaterals, training, and Kate. And we believe, we've been doing this now for a while, that this is the best way for dealers to get started to put them on the path to success. We are not looking to just sign people up and have equipment sit in the showroom. We were all about dealers selling this through to their customers, and this is the way to go. Beyond this, there's no quota, there's no additional purchasing requirements. So dealers that get it, dealers that have come to us and said, I want to be part of this, are regular now run rate type customers. We have pipelines, we have account review meetings, pipeline review meetings, because they run the reports, they see the opportunity, and they want to monetize it with each of their customers before somebody else does. This window is now. The window with Toshiba and barcode printing is right now.
The thermal launch package sounds, very comprehensive, and it really picks up on the point you made about dissatisfaction with service and support from existing providers. So it makes sense that you're offering this on-site service training. So that seems to be a real sort of competitive advantage for Toshiba, along with the sales training and lead generation as well. And it seems like you say a minimal investment of $10,000 to really get into this market. And as you say, then the opportunity for recurring revenue continues, especially as the market continues to explode around label printing. So, very much seems very clear opportunity. And I think it's been really great to have you here today to understand a bit more about that opportunity, and especially what Toshiba is doing in the US around helping its dealers move into that market.
Well, thank you. It's been great to be here. Any dealer that's interested, just get in touch with me.
Yeah, so we'll put details in the show notes of how to contact you, Mark. Any information on the program, we may drop that into the show notes as well. And but thanks again for your time. It's great to understand more about the label printing market opportunity and what Toshiba is doing there. So thanks again.
Thank you, Louella.
So thank you for joining today's episode of In the Spotlight with Quocirca. For more information, please visit quocirca.com and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.